I got promoted. He showed up at my work, begging. He tried to ruin me at a party. I destroyed him in 30 seconds. So for some context, I, 30M, have been grinding it out at the same mid-sized tech company for the last 8 years. I'm talking 12-hour days, constant upskilling, networking like crazy, volunteering for every nightmare project no one wanted. It wasn't pretty, but last month it finally paid off. I got promoted to a senior leadership role, massive raise, stock options, the works. Naturally, my wife, 28F, was thrilled. She threw a little family dinner to celebrate, nothing flashy, just pizza, beers, and some of our close family and friends. One of those people was my brother-in-law, Dylan, 32M. Now, Dylan has opinions, loud ones, mostly about how the system is rigged against him and how people like me just get lucky or play favorites. Dude can't hold a job longer than 6 months, but somehow it's always the company's fault, the manager's fault, the weather's fault. Never his. At first, the dinner went fine. Toasts were made. My mom got teary-eyed. My wife's grandma called me Mr. Fancy Pants, which honestly made my whole night. But as the night wore on and the beers kept flowing, Dylan got twitchy, fidgeting in his chair, making little side comments like, "Must be nice when you know the right people," or "Not everyone gets handed a silver spoon." I tried to brush it off. It was Dylan being Dylan, but then he straight up stood up, beer sloshing out of his red Solo cup, and went on this whole tirade about how promotions were a joke, how they didn't mean anything, except that you knew how to suck up to the right people, and how real hard workers like him got left in the dust. He even threw in a jab about how he could have been a manager by now too if he wanted to sell his soul. I was stunned. Everyone went dead silent. Even the dogs stopped begging at the table and just stared at him. My wife tried to calm him down, but Dylan doubled down, calling corporate people parasites and saying he refused to play their little games. I wish I could say I took the high road, but honestly, after years of dealing with his crap, the beer in my system, and the fact that this was supposed to be my night, I snapped. I told him flat out, maybe if you showed up to work on time and didn't call in sick every other Friday, you wouldn't have to play games to get promoted. The man looked like I'd slapped him. His face went red, and he stormed out, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled. My wife was mortified. Her parents apologized profusely. Everyone else just quietly started grabbing their coats, leaving me standing there, wondering how the hell my own promotion party got hijacked. We didn't hear from Dylan for 3 weeks after that. Honestly, it was kind of peaceful, and then last week, he texted me, "Hey, can we talk? I could use some advice." I ignored it for a day, then another. Finally, out of sheer curiosity, and against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop near my office. He showed up looking rough, like bags under his eyes, clothes wrinkled, hasn't showered rough. Turns out he'd gotten fired again, something about not respecting management, and he was broke. No savings, no backup plan, just vibes. Then came the real kicker. He asked if I could get him a job at my company. I nearly spit out my coffee. I stared at him for a good 10 seconds, just blinking like an idiot. Like, was he serious? After years of talking trash about my work, the system, and basically everything I stood for, he thought I'd vouch for him? I set my coffee down slowly and said, "You do realize you've been badmouthing my entire career path for years, right?" He shrugged, like it wasn't a big deal. "That's just talk, man. You know how it is. Family's family." Family's family. Right. Where was that attitude when he was roasting me in front of our relatives? He launched into this whole speech about how he had matured and realized he needed to play the game now, and how he just needed a foot in the door. He even tried to spin it like I owed it to him, because I had it so easy and he had been dealt a bad hand in life. I just sat there, sipping my coffee, wondering how he thought any of this was convincing. Finally, he pulled out the big guns. "Look, dude, you're married to my sister. You owe it to her. If not to me, she wouldn't want to see me fail." Oh no, he did not just drag my wife into this. I leaned forward, keeping my voice low so I didn't cause a scene. "Dylan, let's be real. I can't recommend someone who thinks authority is a joke and who's been fired from every job he's had. You don't just magically fit into a company like mine because you really want it now." He started to argue, something about loyalty and family and second chances, but I cut him off. I told him point blank that recommending him would tank my reputation, and after the years I put into getting where I am, I wasn't about to risk it on a gamble like him. He looked like he might cry. Seriously, I don't think I've ever seen Dylan look so defeated. Part of me, the dumb, soft part, almost felt bad. Then he muttered under his breath, "Figures. Always about yourself." And just like that, any lingering guilt evaporated. I stood up, tossed a few bucks on the table for my coffee, and said, "Good luck, man. You're gonna need it." As I walked away, he called after me, "You'll regret this. You think you're better than everyone." Didn't even turn around. I wish I could say that was the end of it. But because Dylan is Dylan, it got so much worse. That night he went nuclear, blowing up my wife's phone with texts about how I'd abandoned family, how he was homeless now because of me, and how people like me deserve to have everything come crashing down. He even posted some vague crap on Facebook like, "Some people only care about money and fake titles. Real ones no loyalty." Cue a bunch of our mutual family members texting me asking what was going on. At that point, my wife, the saint that she is, told him in no uncertain terms to back off. She even blocked his number after he called her at 2 a.m. one night, absolutely hammered, slurring about how we forgot where we came from. It was ugly, and petty, and exhausting, and it would have ended there if Dylan hadn't pulled his most desperate move yet. He showed up at my office, no warning, no appointment. Just showed up. I was coming back from lunch with a couple coworkers when I saw him, standing awkwardly by the front desk, wearing a wrinkled polo and jeans like he just rolled out of bed. He spotted me immediately and waved. Big goofy grin like this was totally normal. My stomach dropped. This was so not normal. One of the receptionists looked at me, eyebrows raised like, "Do you know this guy?" I plastered on my best fake smile and walked over. "Hey, Dylan," I said under my breath, trying to keep it low-key. "What are you doing here?" He launched into this rambling explanation about how he was in the area and thought he'd pop in to say hi. I stared at him, trying to telepathically communicate, this is not the time or place, but of course Dylan has the subtlety of a brick through a window. "I brought my resume," he said way too loud, pulling a crumpled piece of paper from his back pocket and waving it like a freaking flag. Several coworkers turned to look. I wanted the ground to swallow me whole. "Dylan," I hissed, "you can't just show up here like this. You need an appointment. HR handles applications, not me." He blinked, completely unfazed. "But you said you couldn't recommend me. I figured if they met me, they'd see what a hard worker I am." Oh my God. I almost laughed out loud. This total lack of self-awareness was exactly why I couldn't recommend him. "Seriously," I said, struggling to stay polite. "You're going to get me in trouble. You need to leave. Now." He opened his mouth to argue, but the receptionist, bless her soul, picked up the phone and, very pointedly, started dialing security. Dylan must have gotten the message because he slumped his shoulders and muttered, "Whatever, man. Guess some people just forget who helped them when they were nobodies." "Helped me? What?" He shoved the crumpled resume at me. I didn't take it, and shuffled out the door, muttering under his breath the whole way. I spent the next hour sweating bullets, waiting for HR to call me up and ask why some random dude claiming to be my family was trying to loiter in the lobby. Thankfully, they either didn't notice or decided to let it slide because I never heard a peep. That night, my wife and I had a long talk. We both agreed Dylan wasn't just a screw-up anymore, he was a liability. We decided to cut contact completely, blocked his number, blocked him on social media. Told our families that if they wanted to stay in touch, fine, but we weren't going to be part of Dylan's drama anymore. It wasn't an easy decision, especially for my wife. She cried that night. Dylan may be a mess, but he's still her brother. But we had to protect our peace, our careers, our marriage. We thought that would be the end of it. Spoiler alert. It wasn't. 2 weeks later, Dylan tried one last desperate move that, honestly, even for him, was next-level pathetic. He tried to publicly shame me at a family gathering. It was my wife's cousin's birthday barbecue, one of those big, casual family things with kids running around, a grill going nonstop, and about 100 folding chairs scattered across a backyard. We debated not going, honestly, but it wasn't Dylan's event, and we didn't want to let him scare us off from normal life. Big mistake. We had barely been there an hour. I was 3 bites into a burger when I heard my name shouted across the yard. I turned, and there he was, Dylan. Half drunk already, holding a beer, swaggering toward me, like he was about to throw down in the middle of the potato salad. "Hey everyone! Gather round," he slurred, waving his beer like a baton. "I want to tell y'all a little story about our big shot family man here." Oh, for the love of... People awkwardly shuffled closer. Some tried to pretend they didn't hear. Others, the ones who lived for drama, were practically vibrating with excitement. Dylan pointed at me dramatically. "This guy right here? This guy? He thinks he's too good for his own family. Got himself a fancy title, and now he's too important to help out someone who's struggling." I kept my face neutral, but inside I was boiling. He kept going, getting louder, ranting about how he knew the real me, how I was fake humble and stepped on people to get ahead. I watched my wife's face go from mortified to absolutely furious in about 5 seconds flat. Finally, I stepped forward. I wasn't going to let him drag this out. I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You're right, Dylan. I am too good for you. I'm too good to recommend someone who gets fired every few months for insubordination. I'm too good to put my career at risk for a guy who shows up drunk at a family barbecue to make a fool of himself." Gasps. Literal gasps. Dylan opened his mouth, but I wasn't done. "You want respect? Earn it. Stop blaming everyone else for your failures and do something with your life." Dead silence. Even the kids had stopped playing, little soccer ball frozen mid-dribble. Dylan just stood there, mouth opening and closing like a fish, before finally turning and storming off, knocking over a plastic table as he went. The rest of the afternoon was awkward, to say the least. A few people came up to pat me on the back or mutter things like, "About time someone said it," but most just avoided eye contact like the plague. Fine by me. My wife and I didn't stay much longer after that. We thanked the host, made polite excuses, and got the hell out. On the drive home, she squeezed my hand and said, "You did the right thing." I nodded, but honestly, I just felt sad. Sad that it had come to this. Sad that Dylan couldn't get out of his own way. Sad that my wife had to lose a brother because he refused to grow the hell up. We haven't heard from him since. Every once in a while I wonder how he's doing. If he ever figured it out. If he ever realized that sometimes your problems aren't because the system is rigged or your family betrayed you. Sometimes it's just you. But at the end of the day, I'm not responsible for fixing him. I've got my own life to live, my own family to take care of, and honestly, life's been a hell of a lot quieter without him. 6 months later, update. Honestly, life's been so much better since cutting Dylan off. 6 months without surprise pop-ins, drunk texts, or passive-aggressive Facebook rants. My wife's stress levels have dropped. My work's been thriving. Got another bonus last month. Dylan would probably say I sold even more of my soul tears of joy. And we even started planning a trip abroad, something we'd been putting off because we were always waiting for the next family drama to explode. As for Dylan, word through the grapevine is that he bounced between a couple warehouse gigs, tried and failed to launch a YouTube channel about exposing corporate America, and is now living with a buddy who lets him crash on the couch. Last I heard, he was still blaming nepotism for why no one wanted to hire him. Not my circus, not my clown anymore, no regrets about walking away. Sometimes, the healthiest thing you can do, even with family, is just close the door and move on. Thanks again, internet strangers, for letting me vent all this out when it first blew up. Hope you're all out there living drama-free too.